BandAids podcast.
Hey everybody, today we wanted to go over kind of my basic med kit, because I know we've had a lot of questions about what do I put in my med kit? What's going to be great? What's going to save me from a heart attack? So this kit that I have, I've kind of put together with basic supplies and maybe moderately advanced supplies, so you probably don't need to go this detailed, but let's get into it. I usually have kind of the most accessible pouch. I do like BandAids and different wound supply stuff. Like I've got gauze and antibiotic ointment, little small pouches, and I got an accent there. The antibiotic ointments and stuff like that. These are always the first thing you're probably going to use and the quickest that you want to get to. So I always have those kind of on the outside of the pouch, not in the big compartments. There's a lot of different packs. You have ones that roll out. So whatever you have, I just like to have that stuff kind of immediately accessible. But in here I have just basic bandages, wound care stuff. And I have, these are just kind of some benzoin tincture that helps the tackiness of your steri-strips. So I have steri-strips to close wounds. Just more basic stuff, not when you're dealing with a big laceration. Things to help clean, bandage up, and be real quick about it. On the inside is where I carry kind of a little more advanced gear. Like I have antibiotics. I usually carry just a small bottle of those. And then in this, I've showed you these before. I have like stomach pills, allergy pills. This is probably also important for you to have your regular prescription medications too. But this just kind of covers everything. I have some ibuprofen, some Tylenol, and I put it all in this little individual compartment thing. The other, I have some sterile water in here because it's always hard. Usually you have a bag or a water bottle with you, but you never know. And having sterile water.
That's not sterile.
It is sterile water. That's some good water. That's some awesome. I was saying good. The other things I like to have is these Epic wipes, because they're freaking massive and you can tear them into smaller strips and clean up about everything. So it's like a huge wet towel that you can have with you. And then I have kind of the more advanced bandages. This is some packing gauze for more severe trauma that you can tuck that into, sterile gauze. I also have compartments just full of different types of bandages, BandAids and self-adhering bandages, and then regular gauze. And then in the bottom, I always carry something to kind of, if I am going to suture, it's something to just kind of keep the field as sterile as possible. It doesn't mean you're going to need to have a perfect sterile field everywhere, but if you have a place to put that stuff, it's always helpful. The other stuff that I like to have in a med kit is we got some of these little marking bands. I figure if you're ever to come on to like a mass shooting, which I hopefully you never do, if you're helping, this way you can mark who's critical and who's not instead of writing on their forehead and stuff like that. But I do have a marker in here too for that kind of thing. So I got those, and the other thing I have that I really like and find super useful is Coban, because it can act almost as occlusive dressing, and you can use it to hold stuff in place. You can keep gauze in place, and it's tacky, so you don't have to tape it all the time. And I do have tape. And then just some roll gauze. So a bunch of different types of gauze. As for tools, I like to have a flashlight, so I have this little EDC flashlight. If you're doing pupil checks, things like that. If you're suturing in the dark, you want a light. I also have a multi-tool in here. I don't advise trying to suture with this, but if you have to, you can do it. But if you have to pull a fish hook out or anything, you want a good tool. And that's why I have the multi-tool in there. If you want to take apart a robot, whatever you want to do. And then that's kind of more basic stuff in the readily accessible pouches. Then it kind of more advanced stuff that I carry is some different medications. This one is, I like to have a steroid on me. I like to have an injectable antibiotic and then the oral antibiotic. Just steroids are good for, reactions, asthma, and different things like that. So get you jacked up. And then I have several different syringes in my bag, and here's an injectable steroid. The syringes are kind of a big part that people don't carry a lot of. I would have several. I'd have a bigger one for irrigating wounds, and so I have at least a 10 milliliter. I do 20 to 10 for irrigating, and you can just use it to inject too. Have a few different needle sizes, and so I think I have 2 of those tins. So then you can just irrigate the wound, and you can use it to inject. And then I have the smaller ones that I typically use to inject the lidocaine. So this side of the pouch, or in whatever pouch you want, I have, and you can be critical about it, this is super sterile, but when you're in an emergency, you're not going to care. I have just some, these are disposable suture material that I've just kind of never used and put in a bag, but I've got regular suture, I've got deep absorbable suture, the suturing tools, because I did find out the hard way that trying to suture with something like this is nearly impossible. And then I have lidocaine with and without epi, so help numb up the person. And then you've got, I usually have a scalpel too, and I have Dermabond, which is a topical adhesive. So I've got kind of everything organized in compartments. One is my suturing, the other one's just regular wound and scratches, scrapes, stuff that you can manage really quick. And then I have like the medication pouches where I have antibiotics, usually a numbing, like an anesthetic, a steroid, and then the pouch or the container that has like all your basic stomach allergy medicines, maybe your prescription medicines, and all those different little pills in one tight little spot. On the outside, this is and then my least expected to use pouch has stuff like I have different, like an NG tube. These are more critical stuff that you wouldn't want to have in there if you don't know how to use it. For, you know, traumatic things, people in shock, and I have like a Mylar pouch or a Mylar blanket for shock. I couldn't find my other tourniquet, but here's something that you could use as a tourniquet. And then the tools on the outside. This is a Leatherman. This thing's pretty awesome. It's a Leatherman shear, which you have to cut pants off or boots or shirts. You want a good set of shears, and trust me, you need to test whatever ones you buy, because if they can't cut through a pair of jeans, it ain't worth it. And then I also have a nice, this is kind of more of a medical all-around knife, and it has different little tools on here. One to help you break through glass if you're trying to help somebody out of a car, cut a seat belt, cut your finger, whatever you want to do with that. So anyway, this is kind of my basic med kit. Like I said, it's a little more advanced because of the training, but suturing material, wound management, medications, these are tools to just help do all this, or help take care of somebody that has more traumatic injuries. This is to kind of help mark if you're helping several people. And then I have things for just keeping wounds clean and packing wounds. Anyway, hopefully that stuff helps to see kind of what I carry and what to look for when you're putting your med kit together. So anyway, check it out. Listen to our podcast, and we have the medical tips on there. And this will get you through about everything, I think. I don't know. We'll see. The end.
The Casual Preppers Podcast.